UTS careers. Helena will be talking about resume skills, and thank you very much.
Thank you. So, just a show of hands, by the way, thanks for coming here on a wet, rainy Thursday afternoon when you could be at home, snuggled up in bed watching Netflix. So, thank you very much for coming, I really appreciate it. Just a show of hands, who here has LinkedIn? Okay, hands up, hands down. Who here doesn't have LinkedIn? Alright, I just wanted to quickly show you what LinkedIn looks like. I think for a lot of you who've never seen it before, it sounds really daunting and really scary and like, why should I even bother with it? This is my feed, so when I log into LinkedIn, this is what comes up. This is my profile. My profile didn't start like this. I had to spend a good couple of hours making it look like this. So what I would recommend is when you finish today, create a LinkedIn profile. Just start there, then use it as a research tool. So don't even think about the scary stuff of approaching people yet if you're not ready. Just create it and start to research people as a way to actually think about why I might want to use it. So, for example, you might want to look for someone like Dave. I spell your last name, Dave?
S-A, double N,
Double N.
U-T. There we go.
There we go. So right up there, Dave, okay? So Dave's profile's right there. So you might want to think of people you've met today, look at their profile, check them out, look at why am I asking you to do this? I want you to see why LinkedIn is useful as a tool. The other thing I strongly recommend doing before I go in to talk about applying for actual jobs is utilise the My Network tool. So what will happen is it will populate naturally your university that will come up. Okay, so UTS is my university. If you're at UNSW, Sydney, Macquarie, it will come up like that. So currently there are over 137,000 UTS alumni or current students on LinkedIn. The reason why I'm telling you that is not to scare you, but to make you aware there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that you can network with. So say you wanted to connect with people, you might think about searching for science. So how many science graduates from UTS are there on LinkedIn? Well, it's populating about 33,000. Why would you want to look at that? Well, it might be a really good way for you to think about what can I actually do as a job? Well, why don't you look at chemistry graduates who have studied at your university and think about having a chat with them as a starting point. So that's just a little tip on why I'd recommend using LinkedIn. So for example, you might want to think about contacting anyone in, there's people from all over the world, but essentially you might want to contact someone who's in a more entry-level role to start with, and then kind of work from there. But essentially LinkedIn is amazing. Use it as a research tool first, and then you can think about contacting people afterwards. And also make use of the groups tab. I'm just going to search for that. So right now, we'll have a look at groups. There's over 1,000 results that come up for chemistry. Why would I recommend joining, for example, just as an idea, analytical chemistry? There's only over 33,000 members attached to that group. So I'm not a member of that group, but what I can show you is in my network, so recruiternetwork.com, there's 817,000 members. I can actually make contact with any of those members. So essentially, if you want a really quick way to contact people in your chemistry or science network, LinkedIn is amazing. Okay, so don't diss it. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to even think about it. So, and with that being said, once you have actually people and you know a role that you want to apply for, that's when you put this document together. Hopefully you've already got a draft ready, but you want to make sure that you personalise it and tailor it for each opportunity. So, who here applied for a job this week? Okay, in fact, call out, how many jobs did you apply for this week? 1? 1? 10? Any that applied for more than 10? No? Okay, 1 to 5? Yeah? Okay. So what I suggest doing is making sure that you apply for jobs that you really want, not applying for jobs that you think you might just want to apply for because you might have a vague interest in. There's something that I heard Dave talking about when he was outside, which you should really avoid doing, which is called the spray and pray approach. Does anyone know what that is? What's the spray and pray approach? I'm just going to shoot out as many resumes as I can and get them out, and hopefully one will catch. We don't want to do that. Why do we not want to do that, do you think? It's not tailored to each job. And I can tell you, I used to work as a recruiter. So you know what I used to hate doing as a recruiter? I used to hate it when a hiring manager would come to me and say, Helena, I want you to put this job out on Seek. And I'd say, oh, I really don't want to do that. Why? Because I'm lazy? No. Well, a little bit. No, just kidding. The reason why is because I knew if I put that job out on Seek, I would get sometimes up to 400 applications that weren't even tailored to my job. It would just be a resume. Sometimes, if I was lucky, it would have a cover letter. So you want to make sure that if you're going to apply for a role, that you tailor your resume specifically to the job criteria that they're looking for. That might take you a good half hour to an hour. Sometimes even 3 hours if it's a government role that requires you to address selection criteria. So how long do you think a recruiter, you've applied for this role, how long do you think the recruiter's going to spend looking at your resume? 20 seconds? That's actually wrong.
8.
It's more like 6 to 8 seconds. Research was conducted in the UK, which looked at this eye tracking software, and the research showed that recruiters were really only spending about 6 seconds on average looking at a resume. That's not a whole lot of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm done. I've already decided whether I want to pick up the phone and call you. So what are they looking at, do you think? Well, they're wanting to see your qualifications. Okay, that's usually the first thing. So good work actually doing a degree that's relevant for the job. Fantastic. The next thing is relevant work experience. Hopefully you've done some. Hopefully you've done some lab work during your studies. Maybe you volunteered for a PhD student. Maybe you've spoken to that tutor who's doing some research work and said, hey, can I come in during the summer break and help you out in the lab? They want to see your achievements. This is not the time to say, hey, in year 3 I was best in the class. Forget about that. Good work though about year 3. They want relevant and recent achievements. So for example, things related to your studies would be amazing. Also, excuse me, things related even to your work would be amazing. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. Also specific and relevant skills. So what that means is you might have 100 skills that you think you do really well. Are you going to list every single one of those? No, you're going to choose maybe the 4 that are mentioned in the criteria in the job ad, and you're going to tailor those in your resume with an example. Why would you choose to put an example, do you think? Any ideas why you put an example next to that skill?
Proof.
It's proof. It's evidence. Yep. Recruiters out there, I can say this because I used to be one, they often don't believe what you say in your resume unless there's evidence. And I know with him, he's awesome, he'd say the same thing. So essentially, you want to make sure that everything in your resume is backed up. If there's nothing, so for example, in your resume, if it says, I'm an honest, hardworking person, bullet point, am I going to believe that? That's just your opinion of yourself. I mean, good work, clap for you, but there's nothing to back it up. So you need to make sure everything that's in there has an example, and I'll show you how to do that. Also, keyword optimization. Yes, there's software out there that companies use, searching for action words, but also people do have eyes, and they are looking for keywords. And recruiters have a really short attention span, as I mentioned before. So if they're looking for certain things and they're not saying them, they're just going to pass over your resume and go to the next one. So you need to make sure that you use those keywords. So, pretty simple, right? I can tell you that I look at resumes every day, and sometimes this information is not always there. They might put, so say your name was Angela. Hi, by the way, Angela. We've got Angela in the audience. You might put age or graduate. Why are you afraid of hiding your first name? Put your whole name so that they know who to actually speak to when they pick up the phone. Something so simple like that. Put a mobile number in there. The number of times I've seen just an email address, no phone number. It's really odd, but make sure you put that information on your resume. Have your email on there, obviously. Try to think about having a professional email address as opposed to just, IHateChemistry, at hotmail.com. Think about a professional one. And even better, have a link to your LinkedIn profile. If you have a LinkedIn profile, put it on there, because I tell you already, they're going to try to search for you anyway. So make their life easier. Just put it on there. You know what that means though, right? The information on your LinkedIn profile needs to be updated. So, even better, make sure you've got a professional voicemail message. There's nothing worse than going to call that perfect candidate and they A, don't even have a voicemail, or it's some kind of really stupid song, and then you have to wait to the end of that song to leave them a message and call you back. Please avoid, this is pretty self-explanatory, but please avoid including any information which could allow you to be discriminated against. Do not include a photo. I don't care how handsome you are, it does not mean that you are going to do a job any better. So, this is a little bit contentious. Who here has a career objective on their resume? Can I ask you why, Nathan?
So it sort of says to the employer what you want to do in the future, what I want to achieve, what I can serve to them in the future.
Yep. That's pretty good actually. I would say most people put a career objective on their resume because they want to actually tell the employer what their focus is, what they really want to do. So if you don't have one, you're basically sending the opposite message. You're basically telling them that you're waiting for them to call you so you can verbalize it, but you're not really further emphasizing what you want to do. So if you're going to have a career objective, and I strongly recommend you do, think about identifying, are you a current student? Are you a graduate? Are you a final year student? Think about what you're actually focused on applying for. So even mention the name of the role title in your career objective, because you're going to change it, right? You're going to tailor it anyway. I can tell you, gone are the days of having the same resume to apply for things, okay? So now you're probably going to have 30 different versions of your resume. That's normal. Don't be afraid of tailoring it. The other thing is, make sure you tie in what relevant skills you can offer, as well as what specific organisation you want to apply to. So be specific. So this is just an example. Guess what I'm going to get you to do now? I'm going to get you to have a go. So I want everyone to think about those three things. So who are you? What's your status? Are you a student, final year student? Are you a graduate? Highly doubt that if you're here. What's your intention? What kind of role are you applying for? And what are your skills? So I want you to turn to the person next to you, hopefully you don't know them, and I want you to tell them those three things. You've got 2 minutes. Go.
So my thesis was sort of like I'm not working on academia for years, and I'm looking for a job that don't apply to yeah, I was looking for the practice one, so yeah, for the interview later. Because I have been doing the practice university for a few years, and I want to apply what I have learned in university to the real world like job. So yeah, that's yeah, really helpful. I am a very strong to define.
So round of applause. Because guess what? You just networked. I just made you network. So essentially, you just met someone, didn't know who they were before, hopefully, and you've got someone else in your network. Little sneaky trick I just did there. And you've got a career objective, hopefully. So if you can't remember it with your amazing brain, I jot down some notes, because that would be very useful to have on your resume. So essentially, the next part is to have your education. So what I think about doing is obviously putting your degree first. Why would you put the degree first over university?
That's the most important.
Because you are the one that got your degree. The university is less important than your degree. Sorry, UTS, but it's true. Your degree is more important. And the next thing as well is make sure you highlight the achievements that you have made in your degree. So if you have done really well in some subjects, highlight that. Try to make sure they're relevant, obviously, to the job you're applying for. And if you're one of those amazing people that has an HD average and you've done well in all your subjects, probably don't need to list every single one of those subjects. That might just seem a little bit wanky, perhaps. So just be choosy about what you want to put on there. The next thing you want to think about doing is highlighting some employment history or relevant experience. So it might not have been a job, so you might not want to call it employment. You might want to call it experience instead, and that's fine. So put the job there, make sure you highlight who the employer is, and then we want to actually list your duties that you've done, but with using action words or verbs at the beginning. Now this sounds really simple, but when I often read student resumes, unfortunately they read like a shopping list. So I was responsible for pipetting and blah blah blah. It's like, oh great, okay. Make sure you use action words at the beginning because it'll actually make the reader follow their eye down the page and it will grab their attention. Try to quantify as well. Quantify some of your duties as well. And the next thing is make sure everything is in reverse chronological order. Most people think, hey, I'm going to start with my first job and then work to the current day. No, you need to have reverse chronological order to start with the most recent and then work back. Let's not go crazy with the duties as well, so maybe only 3 or 4, I know it says 4 to 6, it depends on how much experience you've had. Also, if you've had a couple of similar roles where you've been doing similar things, there's no need to actually duplicate that because if you've answered the phone once in a job, I'm pretty sure you can answer the phone in many other jobs as well. You get the point? You don't need to list it every single time. Make sure you highlight transferable skills and keywords, particularly words that they're wanting you to highlight from the job ad. And I want you to start to think like a recruiter. So I want you to look at your resume objectively. Look at, well, what is it that I have that sets me apart from other candidates? So you need to start to look at your resume and think, what makes my resume stand out? If you don't think you can do that, get someone else to have a look at it for you. Okay? I know with my resume, I still look at it and I go, it's not because I'm I think I'm full of myself, but I still find it hard to find all the errors. And then I take it to someone else, so Angela can have a look and she'll be like, oh, actually, Helena, spelling mistake there, you need to change that there. So it's always helpful to have another pair of eyes. All right, the next thing I really wanted to get you guys to focus on is the achievements, okay? Every single role or experience or anything that you have done, you have helped that organisation achieve something. You have added value. Even if it was a 2-week internship, you have helped that organisation. Who here has achievements on their resume? Amazing. Who doesn't? Make sure that you have achievements on your resume, as it will make your resume pop. Employers will love it. If you don't, it's basically like you don't think that you really achieved anything in that organisation. Okay? You need to make sure that you show that. And as I said before, quantify as well. Okay, so if you helped that business get a $150,000 grant, fantastic. You know, make sure you quantify that. I'm not going to get you to do that because we're short on time. Make sure if you do have time in your resume or you've got space, because how long do we want your resume to be? Not a page. Page is too short. What is it in Australia? 2 to 3 pages usually. If you're someone who has lots of experience, 3 is probably better. If you're someone who doesn't have much, 2 is probably enough. But if you have room, I would strongly recommend having a transferable skills or relevant skills section. Again, tailored to the job or the job ad that you're applying for. So make sure you choose skills that they're looking for and an example. What is the #1 top skill that employers are wanting from science graduates, as specified by Graduate Careers Australia? What is it? Sorry? Yes. William, you hit it on the mark. Why is it communication? For some reason, all employers want their science graduates to be able to communicate with each other. Funny, huh? Guess what? Science students do not put communication as a key skill in their resume. They forget. Why? Because you think it's a kind of thing, right? Of course I can communicate. But it's something that a lot of employers are very wary about. They're really wary. They think for some reason science students can't communicate. So you need to show them I can communicate. And this is an example right here. Okay, so if there's anything that you should put on your skills section, it is communication skills. So, I can't get a job because I don't have experience, because I can't get a job because, okay, you get the point. So, how do you get that experience? How do you get it? Well, I would strongly recommend volunteer work. I would strongly recommend anything that's going to allow you your foot in the door. So to do that, this is specifically for UTS, but join a student society, okay? Join RACI, join the Young Chemist group. That's a plug for you guys, by the way. I'll collect my $50 later. That's a joke. Join any kind of alumni opportunities that your university has. Take advantage of it. I always like to tell students about how I broke into being a career advisor. I haven't always been a career advisor. As I said, I was a recruiter before. When I was thinking about becoming a career advisor, I went and spoke with a career advisor. And I asked her for her advice on how do I get into this industry. She said, join a professional association for career advisors. And I'm like, what? There's an association for that? She said, there's 10 in Australia alone. I'm like, really? Yes. So I'm a member of 2 now. The way that I got involved in being a career advisor was I volunteered my time. I put up my hand and I said, do you need someone to help out? I was just a student doing postgraduate study. They said, yes, we need a secretary to take minutes. So I volunteered my time for 2 years, and guess what? By being Secretary of New South Wales and ACT, it put me in touch with over 200 career advisors in Australia. So from that moment, those people learned who I was, you know what I mean? So essentially, they knew who I was as well as me knowing them. Why am I telling you this? Today, there are professional associations always looking for people to volunteer. Does your university have a nominated person to help out? You know, do they need a Macquarie or UNSW or UTS volunteer? Maybe they don't have one for next year. Maybe they need a secretary. Maybe they need someone to help out at events like this. It looks good on your resume, and I can tell you that the RACI members here are the guys in the know about opportunities. Okay? So definitely join a professional association if you can. Interests and hobbies. I'm not just talking about activities like gaming, like WoW, or anything like that. I'm talking about activities that show your skills. Okay? Not your gaming skills. I'm talking about your interpersonal skills. So if you can do anything that shows outside that you are a great team player, so for example, maybe you're part of sport, maybe you do life-saving on the weekend, maybe you're like me who just wanted to learn how to do salsa dancing, okay? There's always something that you can do, and it always looks good on your resume, and it gives you further proof that you have skills. So get up and do a hobby, okay? Don't just spend your summer watching Netflix. As I mentioned before, professional memberships are really good. Referees. So essentially, they're not that important to have on your resume immediately. You can have them, you can write them just like that, or you can put a verbal on request. It's really up to you. Okay? I'm going to leave it pretty much there, because you guys are amazing and smart anyway. But if you've got any questions, you can ask me afterwards. So thanks, guys.
We will take a couple of questions. Does anyone want to launch in? Hey there, Leo. Leo Hyde from DuPont has joined us.
How many people in this room have a Facebook page? Clean it up now.
Yeah.
Second thing, we go to, if you pass the 20-second resume, we go straight to your Facebook page. And you reel it out then and there. So
And
clean it up.
what Leo's saying here, I would actually say, understand the purpose of your resume. When a recruiter, and I'm sure Wahid from Evolve Scientific who's joined us here, would agree with me when I say, when I read a resume, I'm not looking for a reason to include you. I'm looking for a reason to exclude you. The whole purpose of reading your resume, from my perspective, is so that I can cull 100 applicants down to 5 so that I can interview. I'm looking for every single possible reason to exclude you. Is there a mistake in your resume anywhere? Bam, you're out. Especially spelling mistakes. I mean, for God's sake, we live in an era where you have a spelling checker. If you haven't applied it to your resume, what does that say about what you're going to do for me as an employer? Right? So the purpose of your resume, the purpose of your Facebook, the purpose of your LinkedIn is to keep the door open and not have it slammed in your face. Now, you have the career sections. Each of your universities has a career section. Your professional associations will support you. Professionals Australia will support you. We will look at your applications and give you feedback. Your family, your friends, your professional colleagues, everyone is out there wanting to help you. You just have to give them a chance to let you do your right.
I'll say also just Google your name. See what comes up. You know, I'm always like Googling myself, not because I'm full of myself, but essentially to see what the internet is saying about me. Google your name.
Now, Helena actually said you may have 30 different resumes. Now, I would possibly refine that statement a little, Helena, if I may.
Yes.
I would say if you do 10 good applications, you will have a job. They have to be good applications. A good application takes a day at least to prepare. Now, you see these job ads, you see these articles in the paper. Somebody says, I've applied for 1,000 jobs. And I haven't even had a call back. Yeah, that's because you've sent 1,000 shit applications, right? You can do, it's not infinite monkeys typing at infinite typewriters for infinity, and sooner or later you're going to come up with a work of Shakespeare. You can keep at it forever and all eternity. If you're sending rubbish resumes, you will be culled every time. Blake put up that graph which had a 90% line on it. If you're below that 90% line in your application, you will be below that 90% line in every application. And it doesn't matter, there will always be that 10% ahead of you. Right? Helena mentioned that if you put an ad on Seek, there'll be 400 applicants. I've been there. I was a recruitment consultant. I had 450 applicants for one job. That means just to get an interview, you have to be in the top 1%. Now, if that terrifies you, it should, but it should also be that with support and using your networks and doing your research and doing it properly, you can easily be in that 1% because most of the 175,000 graduates who are graduating right now, most of them couldn't find their arse with both hands and a Mac when it comes to writing a resume.
And I can tell you that you spend a lot of time, I know I do, you spend a lot of time updating on Facebook with your status, sometimes 3-4 times a day. Why not spend those 2 hours on one application?
Could I add one other thing? That follows exactly on from what you said. In the 42 years at DuPont, I never once advertised a job, but I employed over 40 people. Every one of them came from my network. I would send out often just a verbal to my network or professor at Sydney Uni I knew, or New South, or here, or wherever. Do your best 3 people. Never once did I put an ad in the paper. It was all about the networks. So you need to get into those networks.
Absolutely.
And we're here to help you.
And we're here to help you, right? Okay, now we can have a short coffee break if everyone wants a drink, or we can just launch into the next.